Hi everyone, today I'm talking about is Adobe Stock A Buy in 2019. Now I always love talking about Adobe stock because Adobe is one of my favourite companies that is currently available on the stock market. I'm a big fan of this company and I currently don't have any shares in this stock or this company. But I have previously in 2018 had shares in Adobe and I made a decent profit off Adobe back in 2018, which I've got some previous videos on the channel about that if you want to see them. But Adobe at the moment I have no shares in, and we're going to talk about today if I believe it's a buy or if it's a company that if you had shares in that I'd recommend to sell. Now obviously this is always my opinion guys, and everything I talk about on this channel is from a long term view, a long term hold, so about a year to 5 years down the line. Now Adobe is a really strong company, and if we look at a long-term chart, Adobe has had a very good run until, like many stocks, back in the start of 2019 or the end of 2018, had a big massive decline, but it's pretty much recovered a lot of them losses. Now kind of over the last 2 years, Adobe has been very flat for its standards, but over the last 2 years it has posted about a 16% gain. But when we look over like a long-term chart of 5 years, then obviously the 16% gain isn't really great compared to the previous years that it's had. So at the moment it has been pretty flat. As well as that, it's currently got a 50 PE, which is very high. I mean, when we talk about Adobe, what we'll talk about in a second is about the amount of growth that it does have. But it is a tiny bit of a growth stock, Adobe. But even so, a 50p is quite high for a growth stock. Even the forward PE is around about 36, which is a little bit high. You know, personally for me, I'd like Adobe to have a forward PE of probably somewhere around towards the 30 range. So 36 is slightly high and the P is slightly high. And historically, when we look at Adobe's P, this is also quite high for its standards. Adobe's always had quite a high P, but this is kind of like peaking as a very high P for Adobe right now. Obviously that can change with the amount of growth it does have, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But if we look at the current moment, the P is standing out as slightly high. Those are kind of two negative points about Adobe, but the big point of Adobe right now, the market leader, and we talk about brand of Adobe. Now when we talk about the area that Adobe is in, which is kind of like the editing software that Adobe supplies, Adobe is currently the marketing leader in there, and by far it's 100% the market leader and the best company in that sector for it. There is no one that can really compete with Adobe. I can't think of any companies that are even close to what Adobe could do. The packages are slightly expensive, but even so they're slightly expensive, they're just really good products, and no one can really match them with all the services that they provide, and also having that kind of cloud sector play that they currently have is fantastic. Adobe kind of had the Microsoft brainwave a few years back, and what I mean by that is that Adobe programs used to be one of those where you would just go and say, I'll buy that software and I'll pay 200 for it, and you would get the disc and you would have that program forever. Now the problem with that with Adobe is that people were buying them programs and they were using them programs for 5-6 years, and because of that they were kind of only getting that customer once every 5 or 6 years. And Microsoft had the exact same problem with Microsoft Office a few years ago. So for Microsoft and Adobe to kind of get them revenues boosted a little bit, what they did is they changed their products to a subscription based model. So you have to purchase the products kind of on a subscription basis, and you'd pay 30 something a month, and you would get that product every month. And because of them having that subscription service, it meant that they had consistent revenues coming in and customers not disappearing for like 5 or 6 years. And also the great thing about that is if they want to increase the EPS and revenue, all they have to do is, if prices are rising slightly, that package that you pay 30 something for a month, they up it slightly and then you're paying 31 something a month or 32 something a month. And it's quite an easy play for Adobe to just carry on doing that. So the products are amazing and the system they have going on is amazing, and I love how they work them subscription packages overall. And they are in quite a few other sectors, but the editing softwares are the main gig of theirs where they make the most money, and they are the market leader in there. They currently have 20% EPS and revenue growth, so like I say, it is really kind of a growth stock. So you can kind of say that they deserve to be at a higher P right now. But even so, 20% revenue, 20% EPS, it is a little bit of a higher PE. But with the 20% EPS, that will bring the PE down slightly going forward, and the revenue growth. But even so, even with a growth company, you'd like that P to be over. But the EPS and revenue growth are fantastic. Um, just kind of hinting at right now, you can see that it's just slightly overvalued in my opinion. One thing that I really love about Adobe is how aggressive it is in buying companies out. So probably every kind of like 2 quarters, 3 quarters, you probably see that Adobe make another acquisition and they're buying out another company, and this will help boost the revenue and EPS side of it, kind of, you know, destroying any market competitors they have out there, allowing them to grow just into a few more sectors. And because of that, and the CEO of Adobe is actually really good at doing this, he says that he wants to try and keep them EPS and revenue growth to 20%. And to do that, they have to keep buying out these companies. And even though they don't pay a dividend, because of them being so focused on that revenue and EPS growth and buying companies out aggressively, that's fine that they don't pay a dividend because they're just trying to keep up this EPS and revenue growth, which is totally fine. So I really like they're an aggressive company that buys out them companies. I do like companies that do that. It's a great way for them to get rid of that spare cash and increase that EPS and revenue growth. So my kind of target going forward. So at the moment, Adobe is sitting about the $270 range, and I believe it's got about a 300 target on it right there. So I believe that Adobe has about a 10% upside from here. Obviously, I think that if you buy into this stock now and you were to hold it long term, a year to 5 year, obviously this stock's going to go up massively. I just believe that you'll be able to get it at a better price at some point. Obviously 10% upside isn't amazing in my opinion. Now I believe that the 300 target is for the next 12 months. Like I say, if you were to buy this stock and hold it long term, I think you would be up a decent amount. But 10% upside for me isn't amazing. I think there's better bargains out there. Like I say, I recommend Adobe as a buy right now. I do think it's a great company, and you'll be, if you buy it now and just hold it for 5 years, you'll be up a great amount. But the thing is I believe there's better stocks on that stock market that you could get invested in and get a better return than 10% in my opinion. But if Adobe was to have a big massive drop, or it stays at this price for another year, then maybe I'm going to reassess that and tell you if I think it is worth getting into, which it probably would be. But yeah, overall, Adobe definitely buy. Just I believe that there's better stocks out there right now because this one's kind of a bit of a fair value stock right now. And that's my opinion on Adobe stock, guys. Like I say, it's just my opinion. You're obviously welcome to your own opinion, but I share my views out there and try and help you. If you were looking into Adobe stock, I hope this video helped you. If you could give you a video like that, would be amazing. We're kind of towards 250 subscribers now, so thank you for that. Hopefully we'll get to 300 subscribers at some point this year, and that'll be amazing if we can do that. So let's see if we can do it. So thank you for all the support, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.